Miss Johnny. No? Today is July 2nd, 2022. This will be my second video lecture in your subject Legal Aspects in Tourism and Hospitality Industry. Now before I start my lecture for today, I'd like you to have with you your constitution so that you could follow through each time that I will be referring to certain provisions here in our constitution, because that will be our topic for today. Now, yesterday we talked about the sources, no, where we can get the legal aspects, no. Where do we take the legal aspects again of, or when we talk of legal aspects, we are talking about the law or laws that are applicable, no. So I talk about the Constitution, diba? This is where you could find certain provisions that are very important that may affect the industry that you are involved in. Of course, the statutes. I told you about the statutes. These are laws, no, legislated by Congress. Legislated by Congress, no. And also, what else? Treaties, no. When we talk of treaties, these are agreements or covenants. We call those covenants. Covenants are agreements entered into by two or more countries for the purpose of tackling issues about the general welfare of its citizens, no? General welfare of the country's citizens, no? So these are entered into by our country, no? When we talk of covenants, we talk about agreements, no? These are treaties, no? But of course, the treaties and trees, no? To find laws, no, that are applicable to the hospitality and tourism industry. Of course, we talk about what? The Constitution is the most important because this is the fundamental law of the land. Of course, we talk about statutes, or what we call statutes, laws, no, enacted by Congress. Of course, the third would be the treaties, no, and then the fourth would be treaties, the jurisprudence. These are decided cases, no. When we talk of jurisprudence, these are decided cases by the courts, no? Treaties, jurisprudence. Okay? Clear so far? Okay, I will erase that so that we already know. Now we proceed with this, the Constitution, no? Because this is the most important of all. And when we talk of the Constitution, this is the fundamental law. When we talk of fundamental law, it is the basic law that every citizen must know, no? And it is also the supreme law of our country, the law of the land. And because it is the supreme law, it has to be upheld by its supremacy, no? Fundamental law. And of course, this is where we could find what we call the preamble, no? The preamble will speak about the kind of people and the kind of country that we have, no? Our goals and aspirations as a people and as a country. Now, in case of conflict, no, between what we call statutes or laws, other laws, it will conflict with what we call the Constitution. So which one will prevail? No? Which one is more supreme? Of course, it is our Constitution. So all provisions of statutes, all laws have to be consistent with the provisions of our Constitution. These laws or these statutes are what we call subservient. When we call of subservient, inferior siya. Inferior because the Constitution runs supreme, no, of all other laws. Okay? Clear so far? But before I move on to the provisions of the Constitution, the more important ones which we will be tackling today, I'd like first to discuss about the three inherent, we've taken this up before, Miss Johnny, three inherent powers of the government. So what are those, Miss Johnny? What are the three inherent powers of our government which they can exercise to regulate the affairs of people, to regulate the activities of people? Of course, when we talk of the inherent powers, what do we mean by that, Miss Johnny? When we talk of inherent, meaning it is embedded already or innate, no? Innate, nandoon na, built in. It is given, no? The term given, no? And this given, dahil given nga, it has to be exercised by our government. The first one is what we call the power, police power. Police. Well, we're not talking only of, when we talk of police power, we're not talking of the police, no? We're talking about the power of the government to regulate, no? Activities. What kind of activities? Well, activities of people, of things, of anyone, no? Activities, you have to regulate activities, properties, rights, etc. No? I-regulate mo yan. Regulate, when we talk of regulating a certain action or activity, we are talking about, say, do not overstep into what is required by the law. No? You cannot do anything that you want. This, the rights that we have are not absolute. It will always be subject to regulation by the state. No? Hindi ka pwedeng maghubad. You will just go outside, then you want to bear yourself. That is not possible because there is the police power of the state. And that one is being regulated by the state. Okay? What is the second power, Miss Johnny, that we've taken before? Because of the power of eminent domain. No? So what is the power of eminent domain? When we talk of this power, this is the power of the state to what? To forcibly acquire. To forcibly acquire private property. No? To acquire private property. No? Private. What do they do with private property? Well, they will convert that into public use. But the government cannot just acquire that or take that away from you. It has to pay what we call just compensation. When we talk of just compensation, we are talking about the money that will be equivalent to the private property that was taken away from you by the government. Okay? So you know this, police power. And then the third power of government, which they could exercise or do. Remember this, Miss Johnny, the three inherent powers of the government. Because the government is very, very powerful. The third one is what we call the power of taxation. No? When we talk of taxation, we are talking about the power of the government to generate or levy taxes for government. Generate or levy taxes for government. No? Generate revenues, rather revenues or levy taxes for government. You know very well that taxes are the lifeblood of, remember this, taxes are the lifeblood of meaning government machinery cannot function without taxes. Lifeblood of the government. No? So remember these three inherent powers of the government. The first one is police power, the second is the power of eminent domain, and this one is the power of taxation. And this power involves what? The generation of revenues and levying of taxes, because without taxes, this is where the money of the government would come from. No? They could not operate as an entity, as a government, without collecting taxes. Okay? So we move on now to the provisions of the Constitution. That's what I was telling you earlier, no? Now, the provisions of the Constitution, I'd like you to read, and okay, this is your assignment number 1, no? I will just give this as your assignment number 1, no? I'd like you to read Article 1, read Article 1 on the national territory. The national territory. Right? And then I'd like you to read also Article 2. What is Article 2? The Bill of Rights. No? Bill of Rights. Diba? Specifically here, specifically what? Section 1. Here, specifically Section 1. I'd like you also to read about Article 3. Article this one is Article 3 rather, no? Article 3. And then we have Article 4 on citizenship. Article 4 on citizenship. No, that's Article 4. You also read that. And then, of course, Article 12. Article 12 on what? National economy. National economy and patrimony. No? So I'd like you to read first, Miss Johnny. This is your assignment number 1. You get your Constitution, you read Article 1, Article 3, Article 4, then Article 12. What are you going to do? You give me the significance of all these articles. No? What is the significance of Article 1? You state the reasons. What is the significance of Article 3? You cite the reasons. Article 4, then Article 12. That is assignment number 1. Now, assignment number 2. So, you have 2 assignments which you have to put in your portfolio of assignments, okay, in your folder. So, assignment number 2 will be, you have to read RA 9225. What is RA 9225? It's the Dual Citizenship Act. Dual Citizenship Act, or law of 2003. No? Actually, the title of this law is Citizenship Retention and Reacquisition Law. Citizenship Retention and Reacquisition Act of 2003. So what are you going to do with this law? You have to summarize this law in your own words, no? And then you discuss what is the relevance of this law to you in particular, or to the tourism industry in particular. Okay? So clear? So far you have 2 assignments. Assignment number 1, the constitutional provisions, you have to read them, then give the significance. And then assignment number 2 will be RA 9225, which is the Citizenship Retention and Reacquisition Act of 2003. Okay, that's all for today. Good morning, 3 minutes.